Good morning, golf world. Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Golf Podcast. Today it's just you and I, Chris, and we're going to jump right into this because the U.S. Open is currently going on. Loading the TV here in the background because the marquee groups are out playing on Pinehurst #2 today. So, Chris, first of all, did you get to watch much of round one there yesterday?
Yeah, I had a good amount of it on in the background while I was working. Yeah, it was, honestly, if the first round is any indicator of how the rest of the weekend is going to go, we're in for a pretty great tournament here.
So I agree. I think the course is only going to continue to play harder. There was some concerns like on Thursday there was pictures of them watering the greens and stuff, and I think people thought that that was Pinehurst and the USGA bowing down to the complaints that we saw from players about things going too fast. But I mean, really, you look at the weather forecast and just like the knowledge of like how this stuff works, they've got to water those greens.
Yeah,
Like it's
they're
only
just
going to get
maintaining them.
hotter. Yeah, and I think that as the week goes on, it's only going to get hotter. They're only going to get harder. They're only going to move faster. So I think a lot of what we saw yesterday, in the frustration, I remember early in the day yesterday, Matt Fitzpatrick had one where he went over the green over to like to the grandstand area, had to take relief from there, and then came out from that area and went straight over the green again. And I think that those are the things that you're going to see more at this tournament that we haven't seen in the PGA here this year, which to me is I'm torn on it, Chris, a little bit in terms of like philosophically because Valhalla and the major for the PGA Championship got a lot of crap for too low of scores and too much scoring, but that also was a lot of fun to me. Like watching the best players in the world hit birdies and do crazy things is fun. But there's also some fun in watching them do the same types of things we do on normal courses that they're doing on a super challenging course. I went over the green a couple times yesterday, back and forth. So it's fun to know that they can be challenged in those same ways. But there was a stretch of the day yesterday where it was bunched up, low scoring, and there was like a lot of not great golf, even though it is still great golf, right? Because the course is such a challenge, but it doesn't look great and it's not super fun and exciting, and the pace of play is slow. Do you think for the casual golf fan that this is as fun as maybe like the low scoring highlight reel rounds?
Well, I mean, if the Twitter response to Valhalla is any indication, then everybody's kind of getting what they were asking for. I mean,
Yeah.
on the one hand, but then there's also guys who are on pace to be minus 16, minus 20 by the end. I don't know that that's necessarily going to play out, but after the first round, you had some people 5 under, 4 under. But yeah, I mean, I think that average golfers do enjoy seeing the pros struggle a little bit because that's kind of a lot of our own experience on the course.
Yeah. I would also argue that from my experience, golf Twitter is not average golfers because they all drive 300 yards, they all shoot in the 70s.
Right. They all
And
hit
they
their
just
gap wedge 170.
yeah, and honestly, there's something about that might be a conversation for another time. There's something about online golfers versus like the golfers that actually meet in person, where like online golfers are just mean and mad about everything. Like there's no pleasing them. So I'm sure there's some out there today saying, "Oh, this is not fun. This is too hard." So there's that. But right now, at the top of the leaderboard, let's see here if anything's changed. You still have Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy's at T2, tied with Ludwig Aubert. Matthew Pavon is right there at fourth. And Bryson DeChambeau made a run there yesterday, and he's currently at fifth, tied with Batia and Finau. And then it goes Hatton, Kepner, Kim, Connors. That kind of rounds out your top 10. Sergio Garcia had a really nice bogey-free round yesterday, up there. Any of these names here at the top, do you think are going to just continue to make a push going into the weekend? With the course playing this tough. Also, do you think that it's the guys at the top are really going to be able to hold off anybody else at the bottom? Because it'll take pretty impressive. Like any of these guys that are in the +1, +2 right now, I think the cut is at +3 going into today. So that's kind of the target line for the guys that are beyond the +3. But that's a pretty seems like a pretty big lift for even like say a Scotty Scheffler to get to. He played +1 yesterday. Like, can he really put in a round that's going to make him -4, and put him in contention into the weekend? Or is it if you start out fast, that's going to be kind of the guys in contention for this weekend?
I mean, Khaki Thanos is kind of an anomaly. You always have to be looking in the rear view for him. So yeah, if there's one guy that, maybe Xander too, it could get hot going into the weekend here and make up some of that ground. Because you're right, there's 6 strokes out of the lead right now, but that is a lot tougher to make up in this type of a tournament where the course is playing so hard. I mean, Ludwig Oberg. Oh, sorry, Oberg. I keep getting confused on his homeland pronunciation and now this kind of like mixed American pronunciation. But yeah, he hit every fairway yesterday and was like 16 out of 18 in greens and regulation. I mean, if he can keep managing the course like that, I think that he could stay right at the top there. Rory and Cantlay are, you got some real heavy hitters at the top of the leaderboard here. So it should be really interesting to see how this all plays out as we get into the third and fourth round.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, yeah, sir, Scheffler can get super hot at any point. Yesterday, he looked a bit erratic, which we aren't used to really seeing from a player like him. Like he's always in the fairways, he's always playing the right shot and the conservative shot. But when he was paired with Rory really looked like, even though Cantlay had the -5 for the day, he had some shots that were great shots. That one out of the bunker that gave him I think it was a birdie. He played good. He didn't play bogey golf, right? And so that was a good round. But I felt like Rory was the best golfer on the course yesterday, and he still finished -5. And so, and that was Rory playing at the best that I've seen him this year. Like maybe his score wasn't that we've seen him score lower on easier courses. But I haven't seen him in as much control over every aspect of his game than we saw him yesterday. And so that just, to me, that feels like an indicator of like, if you're going to post a round that gets you into this area with these guys that are -5, -4, one, these guys might have to lose some strokes here as the course gets tougher, which is definitely possible. We saw Bryson DeChambeau. He's already at par, bogey, par here for the day. So he lost a stroke early here in the day. Although the way he's driving the ball on this course, he could easily make up for that lost stroke. He's putting the ball within under 100 yards of the green in a lot of situations here. And we saw him put one in from off the green with a wedge, which was an incredible shot by Bryson yesterday. But that feels like even a guy like Scotty or one of these guys that's in that +1 territory has to play so elite and hope that Rory and Cantlay lose a stroke to get themselves into contention here. But maybe it's the grind. Maybe it's Rory losing a stroke today and maybe 2 on Saturday, and a guy like a Scheffler or a Homa or somebody like that that's back a little bit gains a stroke or 2 today and then gains a couple on Saturday, and then you get them into contention. Maybe that's the path to getting into it. But right now it feels like, so from golf data, or data golf right now, let's see, the win percentage is Rory's at a 22.3% chance to win. Aubert's at 15.3. Cantlay's at 10.2. DeChambeau's at 8.5. Scheffler at 29th place is still 7% chance to win.
Dude is inevitable, man.
So they're considering that he's going to get back into at least top 5 contention here throughout the weekend. And Colin Morikawa's right there too. We're currently at T16. He's 4.7, and then it just drops into the single percent chance to win. Does that sound about right to you, that like it's really 5 to 6 guys got a shot at this here going into the day 2 here and into the weekend?
Not really, to be honest with you. And you're talking about the grind, and it's so important in this tournament in particular, where you're really playing. The birdies are scarce. You're trying to get pars, and sometimes you have, a good distance to go just to save a par on these greens. And then you've also got situations like you were talking about with Matt Fitzpatrick, where he's going back and forth over the green. Yes, you could have a situation where somebody loses a stroke each day and kind of slowly falls back, but at any moment, something could go horribly wrong, right? I mean, somebody could get completely caught up in the natural waste area and just have no shot out because they're stuck behind like a patch of that. What is that grass? I can't think of the wire grass, right?
Mm-hmm. I heard
just
there's 75 different types of grasses on this course
That's
also.
wild.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I love, it's just a really interesting course. You've got all
Yeah.
these, you're challenging these guys. I mean, now playing a shot off of the fairway is not what it usually is. But so anyway, yeah, it feels like at any moment something could go horribly wrong. And, even if that is on the back nine on the final round, so you could legitimately lose 3, 4 shots in a short amount of time.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit because, obviously we're going to be focused on the top. One thing I don't think that gets talked about enough in majors too is like, yes, the winner's going to get all the credit, the winner's going to get all the love, and we want to see who's going to be in contention. But like, even getting a top 20 in an event like this, especially at a course like this, for some of these other names, or names that are, Morikawa still in that kind of running this year. We talked about him early in the season of, what happened to his game? Where has he been? And it was kind of lumped into the same conversation as a Justin Thomas and a Jordan Spieth of like, they were so good at one point and then lost their games. But Morikawa seems to have found it, and he's right there. Brooks Koepka had a rough day yesterday for him in terms of how he plays in majors, but he's even going in. He and Morikawa are right there at T16. Some other names, Tommy Fleetwood kind of sitting there at +1. Some I'm trying to see here some other ones. Ricky Fowler at +1. Some of these guys.
Brooks is a good example of what I was just talking about because he started -3 on
Right.
the front nine, then he lost 3 strokes on the back and finished
The
even.
live bots were like, "Oh, look, Brooks is coming back. What are you guys going to say now?" And then, yeah, it changed very quickly for him yesterday. But with that, today is going to be an important day. So I think the cut line is going to be +3, +4, depending how this day plays out. And there's a bunch of dudes bunched up right now. I think Data Golf right now has it, the cut line at 24% chance to be +4. So that would Tiger Woods would be in it. Lucas Glover would be in it. Adam Hadwin at +4 would be in there. Shane Lowry, those guys. If it moves above the +4 today, and it's say it's +3, some of these names, do you think those types of guys can make a run to make the cut? And who were the biggest surprises for you of guys that are seemingly looking on the outside right now of making the cut here for the US Open?
I mean, Sahith Theegala had a tough day in the
Oh,
first
he
round.
really did. Yeah.
Um, yeah, Justin Thomas had a tough day. He's been up and down for a while, so I don't know how. I don't get
Phil had a real
yeah,
tough day.
Phil. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't get super surprised when JT has a tough day because he's been kind of going on this roller coaster for a minute here.
Yeah, he has.
Um, yeah, I mean, Tagala, I was I wasn't expecting him to go. He was like +8 or something in the first
It's
round, which
+7, yeah.
+7, yeah, that's tough. But yeah, I mean,
Victor Hovland, who
yeah,
we
Hovland
thought
too
maybe
is
was
another
on
one.
his way back. Yeah, he had another real tough performance here. A guy that I love a lot, Mackenzie Hughes, who's been up and down a little bit, but he's kind of always floating around that top 20. He had a +8 yesterday. I picked him in one of my polls as the one of like kind of like a sleeper pick. He was down there. Nick Taylor +6. He's been playing really good golf. Yeah, there's a lot of really good golfers that maybe they're not all household names for everybody. Tom Hoagie, who's been playing like pretty well with his irons here this
Yeah.
year, +5.
Got Will Zalatoris is at +5
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of work to do for these guys. Out of those kind of names that we talked about here in the +7, +5, like, can you see any of them pulling themselves out of a rut today here with 18 holes to make the cut, to have like a bit of a surge, or is it you got to be within like a stroke here?
If there was one guy, it would be JT because he can go on a run like that and make up a
Yeah.
few strokes. That would be the guy I'd pick out of that group is the most likely to make up the ground he needs to make the cut. But I mean, those guys who are a little closer, like Zalatoris, for example, Sung J Im, on is it right there at +4. Um, these guys I think could hang on and make it through. If they make up a what you said about +3, you think the cut, maybe +4.
It's right around there
So
right
yeah, they're
now.
right
Yeah.
there. It's just it all depends on how the second round goes. It's that close.
Yeah. So according to Data Golf, which if you're not following Data Golf online or using them as a resource, especially if you're better, I think they're one of the better sites. I don't do a lot of sports gambling, but they have great predictive models. They kind of break it all down real time as the tournament's going. Like it just changed on me here. I'm watching and all the spreadsheet here just changed. But so they've got, I'm trying to find the best person that is currently plus fly. So it's Tom Hoagie right now is +5. They gave him a 35.6% chance to make the cut. So they've got him as the favorite in terms of the +5 group. The next one would be Jake Knapp. They got him at 24.1. Will Zalatoris is right there at 23.8% chance. Victor Perez at +6. They got him at a 19% chance. Hovland at +7 is a 18% chance to make the cut. So it's going to be pretty hard here for some of these guys to turn it around on a tough day where the course, especially these ones like Hovland's out now, but you've got some of these guys. Will Zalatoris, he's not going out till 1 o'clock today, where the course is just going to get probably tougher as the day goes on and the temperatures increase. So tough grind out there for the guys that didn't get a hot start. And I think it goes to show you, Rory talked about this a little bit in his post press conference yesterday, that like when he's won majors, it's been a hot start and coming out to a hot start. And it puts you behind the ball so much if you, especially on a course like this, if you start in the plus territory, even if it is +3, +4. So, do you have any sleepers outside of the guys at the top that you really think can make a run at this? I know you're kind of you're pretty good at predictive the guys that we're not really thinking of all that much.
I appreciate that, especially since my picks that came through never got out there. But a guy had oh, I forget who it was even now, but um yeah, I don't know. This, it's tough to pick in this tournament. I mean, Thomas Detry was close. He's been close. He's, plus 12,500 right now. He's in a tie for seventh with -1. He's kind of an interesting sleeper to me. Uh I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Beyond that, it's so hard to predict what is going to happen on a course where these guys are being challenged to the degree that they are.
Yeah. So I think this is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to watching here. And I also let's the coverage. PGA gets a lot of crap about how the game is covered. I do get frustrated with the bouncing around a little bit where it's like, hey, I'm in the middle of watching. I pay for so many apps just to watch golf. I pay for ESPN Plus, I pay for Peacock, I've got YouTube TV. And so it's frustrating because I have to pay for a lot of services to watch golf. But then when it's like I'm in the middle of watching ESPN Plus and then it comes up mid round, it's like your stream has ended and now you got to go find where golf is at. Like, and now you gotta go
Yeah.
to the golf channel or wherever. That I think is a frustrating aspect of golf. But when I turned on the TV yesterday, I do have to say, like, I was pretty impressed with the amount of options, just even on cable. I turned on YouTube TV. They had a multi-view option. They had featured groups being covered. I didn't actually even go watch Peacock. I know a lot of people were going switching over to Peacock to watch. What do you think of the coverage yesterday of this event?
I agree that it's a little frustrating to have to switch around. I have, I've gotten into the habit of looking on CBS usually has a good post that they put out with where everything's going to be. So it's easy enough to find, but yeah, it would be nicer if there was one centralized location. You just throw it on and don't have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, it's the coverage so far. It's been, the coverage itself has been exciting to watch. I mean, I feel like, it's been an enjoyable watch. I don't know how have you been enjoying it so far?
I've liked it. Yeah. I mean, commentary on golf is tough, especially when you have so many different people covering different things. That can be very difficult to get all good coverage across the board. So definitely some of the commentary has been a little rough, but I watch so much golf. Like for me, Chris, my setup is often I'm here in my garage, my studio, as I like to call it here. And it's a playroom, and I open up the garage, and we have kids over all the time, and I just got the TV going, and I'm working on my own grip and golf swing and stuff while I'm watching. So oftentimes I'm not even really listening to it, or there's so much noise and stuff going on that I don't get to hear the commentary. So that helps a little bit in following some of these rounds. But no, I've been mostly happy. I do think I give live golf a lot of crap, and I think that at some point we should probably have an episode discussing, our preferences on those things, because it's such a conversation in golf. But one area where in the 3 or 4 times that I've watched live that I think the PGA should be forced to do, and I'm kind of shocked that they haven't taken it, more seriously and how they cover the game, is I do think live coverage, while the product of live isn't necessarily as good, I do think that they're tracking every single shot, and the like rapid pace of watching everybody is better for the consumer. I think it gives you maybe a little bit also more realistic idea. Now the fields are bigger in the PGA, so you're not going to be able to track every single shot. You only have whatever 60 something golfers and live, and you've got 100 something right now here in the tournament, so you're not going to be able to track every shot of those opening rounds. But when you get down to making the cuts and you only have 60 dudes finishing out here for the weekend, we should see everything. And one of my biggest problems is, and we talk about this a lot out on the golf course with people that I golf with, is it feels like watching PGA sometimes is just like watching a highlight reel, right? Like every time they're zooming into somebody on the weekend that's in 40th place or whatever, that shot's probably going in. Like they're like, oh, we're going over to Nick Taylor on the 18th. And it's like, okay, he's probably making this birdie chip or whatever. Like the only reason we're going over to see him is because he's doing something incredible. And I think that sets up false expectations, even of what pro golf looks like. Like it's not all these really good talks and things, or really good rounds and really good shots and things like that. And so that would probably be my biggest beef, is seeing more of the shots and maybe seeing more realistic of what even pro golf looks like, because it's a hard game. And I think that people get frustrated because they see only good shots on TV and they don't get to see the bad ones. And so when they hit bad shots, and we're amateurs and most of our game is bad shots, it's like, well, man, I just never hit good ones, and these guys always hit good ones. It's like, I think it sets up a false expectation of golf. It seems like a highlight reel to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you do see the bad shots out there, and on this course, they like to show the balls that are getting chipped up onto the green, but not quite making it far and rolling all the way back down. So
Yeah.
we've seen some of that stuff. Uh, some of the shots out of the natural waste area, you know that they're not really going as well as the pro wants them to go, but obviously they're hitting it a lot better than we could, and they don't really look that bad, right?
Yeah.
To amateur golfers, but yeah,
Right.
generally speaking, you're right. It would be nice to see just as much as possible to kind of get a a better mindset about what's going on.
Yeah, and speaking of them looking a lot better than we look, this is the point in the show, Chris, where we're going to transition to talk about our own games a little bit. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor here, Burncliffe Golf Resorts and Banquets. I'm wearing the hat here. I love it. I've been rocking it. And every time I'm out on the course, I'm always playing with new players, and they see the hat, and it's nothing but kind words about the course, and people being like, oh, I got to get back out there this year. And oh my God,
I
did the
need
course
that hat to go with this shirt.
yeah, did they rip you up a little bit? Did that course tear you apart? And actually, I was playing Deerwood yesterday, and it was up and down and a lot of slope. But the guys I was playing with were like, we're talking about slope and stuff. They're like, yeah, but have you ever played Burncliffe? And it's like, yes, I have. And so shout out to Burncliffe, because they are a very popular spot for golf in Western New York. And so if you are looking for a tee time, Father's Day is a big weekend for a lot of golfers here coming up. I know that you can give them a call at 585-535-7300. Check if they've got some tee times. Weather is warming up, dude, up here in Western New York. We're getting in the high 80s, 90s. Ball's going to be traveling a lot further. Grounds are stiffening up. This is the time to get out and start golfing, and maybe even look a little better than we are and get a little closer to the pros and get some of those distance gains. So head over to Burncliffe, and here's a quick video for you. And those that are only listening in the podcast form, we will link the videos every single time, but here you go. And Chris, you want to tell the people about the sweepstakes?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to throw the link up on screen, but we've tweeted it out. It's pinned to the top of our Twitter profile at Cover One Golf. And basically, you've got 2 days left to enter for a chance to win a free round at Burncliffe for two people, including a cart. And they're going to announce the winner on Father's Day. So make sure you get to that link. It's real easy to sign up. Um, and yeah, and if you weren't able to see the video because you're on the podcast platform, they're highlighting their stay and play packages, which are really great and I think unique in the Western New York area, where you can stay right on site and golf. It's an all inclusive package. You can reach out to them for more information on that on their website, burncliffe.com, or like Aaron read out earlier, the number 585-535-7300. But yeah, we were there. We saw the property. It's a beautiful spot, and it's a great place to spend a weekend.
Yeah, Ken Swanson, a friend of ours from Kansas City Sports Network. He does a guys trip every single year. When he saw that they were our sponsor and we were tweeting out about him, he DM'd me and hit me up of like, "Hey, what's this all about?" And I was sending him the pictures that we took and the links and stuff. And he was like, "Wow, that's pretty super cool. That might be their spot to make a trip to get some Western New York golf in, which I hope they do because I would love to meet up with him. I've had him on our show 3 or 4 years in a row, and he's a fun guy to talk to. So it'd be fun to get out there with a Kansas City fan and have a little golf tournament or at least get a round in together with him. So it is a really unique, cool spot. Before we transition to our game, Chris, tracking here the U.S. Open live, Rory's already lost 2 strokes today. He's at -3 here early in the day. So it seems like you had Bryson DeChambeau losing a couple strokes. You have Rory losing a couple strokes. So that kind of conversation of, I don't know if as the day goes on, it's just going to play harder for these dudes that are in that +2, +1, but there's an opportunity that margin is thinning out here as the day starts. Cantlay hasn't started yet. Aubert hasn't started yet. So they're still sitting at the top just from the fact that they're not playing on the course right now. So they can't lose strokes, but it seems like things are going to get real interesting here heading into the cut line. And if all those numbers are pushing down, that cut line might be +4, +5 here by the day's end. So interesting stuff to track. We'll maybe give an update here at the end as we wrap up and talk about our golf games. Chris, why don't you lead off? Because I had such an up and down week that I actually have a little bit of league play here after this, and I'm hoping to end the week on a good note. But right now, I got a terrible taste of golf in my mouth that I'm trying to wash out right now.
Well, last week we were here talking about how I had the worst round of my year so far. And 5 days later, I was able to go out and tie my personal best round. So it's just really, golf is so strange. Sometimes
Yeah,
you're on, sometimes you're not. Uh, a 20 stroke, it was a 20 stroke difference for me. And that kind of variance is just, it's really frustrating. And I'm hoping that sort of as I get more experience with the game, I can kind of narrow that range a little bit so that it's not quite so all over the place. But yeah, everything was working for me, and the ball striking was just what I was more used to. And the only place where I lost a little bit of ground was the putting, but that was a strength before. So
sure.
everything else came back up, and the putting regressed a little bit. But it's so tough to have every aspect of your game clicking all at once. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, probably the highlight of the day for me was I had a shot where the ball was in this weird lie. It was like on the grass, just on the edge of the bunker. So my footing was off, and it was just not a great spot. And I was able to use my 7 wood, which is actually made out of wood. And it's normally about 150-yard club for me, but I just smoked it like 184 yards. Actually went too far through the green off the back, but I was able to, recover pretty easily from there. And it feels really good when you're hitting well, even if the score isn't quite where you want it to be. If you can hit the ball the way you feel like you can hit it, then it's a good day.
And you said it was your personal best. I can't remember. What is your personal, what was that?
On a
90,
94 on a
94?
72. on a 72 par course. I've
And
gotten a couple of 88, but they were on a par 66 course, so I don't. I count them as kind of even with the 94s.
it's definitely something like I have that discussion with my friends all the time of like scoring isn't always it's like a movable metric, right? Like so like yeah, if you shoot a certain score, it has to go to whatever that par was. What for the people listening with personal best, what would be your like what's an average score for you right now?
Somewhere around 100, 102 maybe.
Okay.
That's probably about average. Yeah, I mean, and it's been edging down. I don't. I guess I'm more surprised if I'm pushing towards 105 than if I'm pushing towards 95. Like I'm kind of
Sure.
expecting to keep, those scores in like the high 90s.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's exciting to play where you feel like you can be playing, even if it's not quite where you think your ceiling is.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And so I had a bit of an opposite week since we last met. So going through my rounds here a little bit um over the last week. So I played what the last time we met must have been the fourth. So then I played nine, shot a 45, totally fine. That's about where I'm at. Played another nine, shot a 42. Love that. Had a really nice round there. Played another nine, shot a 44. So I was like in a consistent mid to low 40s, playing nine, played 18 on Tuesday here with a group of mine and shot a 84. And honestly, Chris, that round felt like I didn't really check on my score. We got sent off the back first, so that was like a little weird at Brighton. We got sent off the back, played pretty good. And then as we were like making the turn, like really, the one guy keeps a score on the card for league play. And every time he's asking me if it was like, oh yeah, that was a par. That was a par. That was a par. Bogey, par, par. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, and I started getting into my head, like, I'm making a round out of this. And then I didn't look at the score, but I saw I was like plus 5 or 6 at 12 holes in. And I was like, oh man, like in my head, it then became like I could go for my personal low, and then I double bogeyed, and then and then it kind of like it was a mental thing. So I'm really trying to focus on staying away from looking at that score, and especially if I'm in
Yeah,
a mode of playing good, what I like to call boring golf, where I'm just like hitting good shots and it's not super exciting. I'm just like staying forward and keeping the ball going forward. Um, because when it hits my head that like, oh, like I saw the +5 after 12 and was like, all right, like I just got to keep parring. And it somehow tricked my head into hitting a bunch of bad shots, I felt like. And it got in my head. And then that's where the double crept in, and a couple doubles on the day. And just feels frustrating then when it leaks in like that, where it would have been nicer if I just didn't look and then saw my round. So it felt like one that was going to be a sub 80 round for me again, and got really exciting. Ended with an 84, which is way better than my average round. It's a good round for me. I can't be frustrated with that. I'm very happy about it. But then yesterday, I went out with a friend over to Deerwood in North Tonawanda, which is a really cool municipal course that North Tonawanda offers. It's 27 holes. They have, I think it's Doe, Fawn, and Buck are the courses, and they're all very unique, very different nines. And so we got sent out, I think it was on Fawn first. Or no, we got sent out on Doe first. And oh no, we went out on Fawn first, and it was super tight fairways, Chris. Hazards like on every side of the fairway. So like big tall reeds, water, gunk, woods, forest on the other side. Started out with a par, and then the round like just totally got away from me for about 5, 6 holes. I went out of bounds off the tee box 5 holes in a row. Um, and you've played with me. Um, I have bad shots, I have misses. I don't get like real frustrated. I was at a point of like a lot of frustration out on the golf course, not throwing clubs, not hitting anything, but just like I prepare so much, I do so much work. And just 2 days ago, I was driving the ball, like I put it in the middle every time. I was driving like 250 to 280 consistently. Like I was really dialed in. And then now, like I just feel like there's nothing I can do to control the ball coming off. It was really windy. It was like 17-mile-an-hour steady winds, 30-mile-an-hour gusts. That didn't help. But my friend didn't have that issue. He was still playing really good golf. He actually had a round of, I think it was shot like an 83 or something like that. Like he played really well, 87. So he got under 90. He played well. I was all over the place. And then that leaked into every aspect of my game. So I lost strokes on everything for the day in terms of strokes gained. Just frazzled me. I did pull it around a little bit on the back. The driver came back. When I stopped getting into penalty, I started just playing my traditional bogey golf, which is about where I should have been. If I didn't take those penalties, I probably would have bogeyed out most of those holes, which I would have been fine with. But taking 5 penalties on a 9 is just, it buries you so much. And there's really nothing. I'm not a good enough golfer to recover. Like I'm still playing bogey golf. If it's a par 4, I'm playing for a bogey. But when you take that penalty stroke, you're almost set into playing for double bogey golf, which is just a hard way to score. It's a hard way to play golf. I only hit 7% of fairways for the day. I was only GERT 5.6. I got 2 pars on the day. And so I'm heading back out here for some league play today, just feeling frustrated, trying to gain it back and stay focused mentally. But yeah, and the most frustrating thing on that one, Chris, is so like 3 of those shots were just bad. Big slices. The wind took it, gusted off into some reeds and stuff where I knew I wasn't getting my ball back. But a couple of them was just like bounced on a fairway, took like a weird left bounce out into the woods, or like where it looked like I could actually find my ball maybe, and then the ball is just gone and I'm not finding the ball and I'm just having to take a penalty stroke. Like that I think was even more frustrating than anything, was like being penalized for drives that weren't terrible and maybe could have been in play, but then just took a weird bounce or something and it just piled on. And tough day for me. Just so I'm hoping to get it back. So yeah, ended up shooting a 96 yesterday. My friend shot a 87, and it's just I didn't even sleep last night because of it.
You're right about not looking at the score during a round, and I'd really try not to do that too. And I get frustrated actually if I accidentally see what my running score is, because it can get in your head in a real way. I mean, that round that I had that I was just talking about earlier, the 94, it's I didn't see it until the end, and I felt like I'd been playing pretty well. I actually limped in with my only 2 triples on the day were on 17 and 18. So I got to the end feeling like, oh well, I don't know, that was kind of whatever. I saw I tied my personal best. I'm like, oh, if I had just not tripled one of the last 2 holes, like
Yeah.
I could have beaten my personal best. And one of them, 17, started with my only penalty of the day, which was driving. It was leaking right, and if it had been like just a couple feet not so far out to the right, this wouldn't have happened. But it hit the cart path and just took a huge bounce off the cart path, like way out of bounds. So
Tough.
yeah, that stuff happens. It's
It
kind of
does.
it's just part of the game.
I'd like to
um
spread them out between rounds though, and not have
yeah,
them all
right.
bunched up in a round.
5 in a round is tough,
Yeah.
man. That's a tough situation for sure.
Yeah. But
But
it's Lou talks about it with traveling different courses.
yeah,
I should expect to play a little worse when I travel and it's a new course and I don't know where to hit. And then you add in
you don't know where to
conditions to
miss is
that.
so big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it tough for sure. So what does your week ahead look like? Are you playing over Father's Day weekend? Are you going to get out
Yep.
here next week much?
I've got 9 scheduled with my family, my wife and my daughter and my father-in-law. So we're gonna do like
Nice.
a little Father's Day 9. That should be fun. It's gonna get really, really hot next week. I
Mm,
think we're approaching. I saw next Thursday we might. It's like a high of 99. Like that's pretty intense. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's school ending and everything. So my wife and my daughter both finish up on in the middle of next week. So Father's Day 9 might be my last for a week or two, but we'll see. We'll see if I can get out again.
I am playing today. I'm gonna go play 9 here soon, and I'm excited for that to hopefully get back. I don't know about over the weekend. I think my family, depending on how hot it gets, it's supposed to get real warm hot here. I was thinking about taking the whole family over to the par 3, Audubon par 3, and getting 9 in there with the kids. Um, So we'll see if we can do that. Otherwise, next week is my real last week to get like the way that I've been playing of like 4 to 5 days a week of golf in kids and school next week. And so and Wednesday is a holiday, so they'll be out. So it's really, I think right now I have tee times for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, early morning Friday. And that's going to kind of wrap it up for me on like the early push of golf season. And then I'll probably be down to playing 2 to 3 times a week once we get into the summer, but it's going to be having me to get up at 5 a.m. and or play in the evening and chase sunset, or getting out on weekends with my golf group, which hasn't been super consistent this year. So I'm excited to spend a lot of time with my kids. I love summer. I love having that time to spend with my kids, but it's also, I've been playing a lot of golf and it's been nice and it's been fun to get out there and be outside and play. That's going to dial back a little bit. And I'm interested to see how that actually impacts my game and stuff like that too. Cause I do feel like the more I play, it's like a fine line. I play a lot and then I'm playing pretty well, but then sometimes I'm playing too much and that's also not always effective. You know, I get tired, I start to fatigue and I have a bad round. So I'm trying to maybe, where's that sweet spot? Is it 2 to 3 rounds a week, or is it, I got to just play as much as possible and get some low rounds in. So I'll report back here as we get rolling into the summer. Anything else here, Chris, before we wrap it up? I got to go to a Flag Day parade here at the school. So anything else here before we wrap up?
Yeah, my kids got a end of the year party at school too, and yeah, I'm supposed to go run a dance party station for a bunch of second graders
Nice.
later on, so
Fun
that'll be fun.
stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, wherever you're watching or listening to this, if you would please leave a comment, make sure you're subscribed to the Cover One Golf YouTube channel. It's a new channel. If you're subscribed to Cover One, you're not going to get these in your feed unless you're also subscribed to Cover One Golf. So I know we've got these going out on Twitter right now. I don't know if that's necessarily going to continue on forever, for a while probably, but we're trying to move people to the YouTube platform because that's where our primary platform is. But yeah, I mean, definitely appreciate you all being here to check this out, and we hope that you'll check out Burncliffe as well.
Yeah, and stay tuned here throughout the weekend. Nate Geary, co-host, is at Craig Byrne, playing in the tournament today. I know he's going to be posting on our Instagram and on Twitter, updating us there. Tilt is having a fun weekend down in North Carolina, doing some golfing. He was at Pinehurst, and we'll try to update on our rounds. But until next week, we are out.